Honeycrisp. The Honeycrisp was developed at the University of Minnesota, which has been breeding cold hard candy apples for over a century. It was the result of a cross made in 1960 using an apple called keepsake apple with an experimental breeding apple known as MN1627. But for a while, the university actually assumed the cross had failed. The original records were lost, and the seedling that would become Honeycrisp almost got discarded entirely. It survived almost by accident, sitting quietly in a test orchard, while researchers paid attention to other more promising-looking varieties. The cells in a Honeycrisp are actually larger than in most other apples. So when you bite into one, those cells burst rather than compress, releasing a lot of juice and a loud crunch. The texture is firm but not hard. It's crisp without being dry. The flavor is usually sweet like honey with a little bit of tartness, although some lower quality apples can taste watery or bland. Honeycrisp used to be extremely popular in the US, and at its peak retail price, it was selling for 3 to 4 times the price of standard apples. The patent on the variety has now expired, which means anyone can grow it, but the difficulty of cultivation keeps supply tight enough that it remains a premium product at most grocery stores. Granny Smith. The Granny Smith apple is a good example of a chance seedling, meaning it grew by accident from a seed of unknown parentage. It was discovered in Australia in the 1860s on the property of Maria Ann Smith, an older woman who found the young tree growing in a pile of compost or rubbish. People believe the seeds may have come from a French crab apple she threw away, which could explain why Granny Smiths are so sour and firm. Mrs. Smith noticed the apple was very useful. It tasted refreshing when eaten fresh and also worked well for cooking because it kept its shape when heated. She began propagating and selling the variety locally, and it gained regional popularity after her death when orchardists in New South Wales started growing it commercially. Today, Granny Smith is grown almost everywhere, and it's one of the top 5 most widely grown apple varieties in the world. The flavor is very tangy, with an almost sharp citrus-like acidity. The sweetness is minimal, which is unusual for an apple. The flesh is dense, crisp, and very juicy. And its high acidity also makes it one of the apples least likely to brown quickly after being cut, which is why it shows up often in fruit platters and salads. Pink Pearl. The pink pearl has a bright pink to red flesh hidden under a fairly plain outside. It was developed in 1944 by a California plant breeder named Albert E. Deere. The apple comes from an older red-fleshed variety called Surprise Apple, which originally came from Turkey. E. Deere was a largely self-taught plant breeder who spent much of his life in the remote area of Edersburg, California, where he experimented with breeding apples that had unusual colors and complex flavors. The pink color comes from natural pigments called anthocyanins, the same antioxidants found in berries. In most apples, these pigments are limited to the skin, but in a few varieties, like the pink pearl, they also develop in the flesh itself. The flavor is usually tart and bright, with some people saying it tastes a bit like grapefruit or raspberry. The texture can be a little softer than many modern commercial apples. Black Oxford. This apple was first found around 1790 on the farm of a man named Valentine in Oxford County, Maine. For many families in New England, black Oxford apples were a very important winter food, and people stored them in cool cellars so they could still eat fresh fruit months after the harvest season ended. The skin is very dark, ranging from deep purple to almost black when fully ripe, and the flesh inside is white to cream colored with a fine, dense grain. The flavor is sweet and mild with a subtle wine taste. The texture is firm and the skin is very thick. While many modern apples might only last a few weeks, black Oxfords can stay good for more than 6 months in the right conditions. Fuji. The Fuji apple was developed in Japan in the 1930s by Japanese researchers who crossed 2 American varieties, the RS Janet and delicious. The Fuji was officially released in Japan in 1962, and it's named after the town of Fujisaki. Fuji apples grown in Japan are often individually wrapped in paper bags while still on the tree to protect them from insects and UV damage, which produces a more uniform skin color. The variety is known for its sweetness, which is often higher than many other apples. Sometimes Fuji apples develop something called water core. This happens when the fruit fills with a sugar called sorbitol, making parts of the apple look slightly clear and taste extremely sweet, almost like honey. Some growers see this as a flaw because it shortens storage life, but many think it makes the apple even better. Phew.